Well, go on, everybody. Lennox here from Simple 123 Trader. This is the weekly playbook outlook for the week of March 14th to 19th. Hope everybody's doing well and are safe. Let's take a look at the futures, starting off with the Australian dollar, and I'll give you an idea of what I think we'll be setting up for the week. And Australian dollar on the weekly time frame. What I'm seeing right away, we hit a peak. We are now forming a head and shoulders pattern. It looks like we're going to be setting up something like this and getting a head and shoulders. And it looks like the opportunity for a slide to the downside for Australian dollar is imminent. Okay, so of course, this is just this week. We might have another bar that pushes up to get back up to that level, but that's the overall look of the chart. On the daily time frame, you can see this a lot more clearly. So you can see, of course, that this can go sideways for a while. We could get a move back up, kind of in line with that, and then we could eventually do the similar type of dance like on that side before we fall. But for this week, it looks like we're going to push one more time back up to challenge the previous highs, and then all bets are off after that. Okay, so that's a look at the Aussie dollar. So a little bit of weakness right now starting off this week, as you can see, and should be interesting to see if it will turn around. It should turn around. We should get that move off the bottom and one more time up to the top. Okay, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I've been pointing out. Let me just go to the weekly real quick. Bitcoin, I've been pointing out that should have made broken its previous high and hit 60,000, and it has hit 61,252.5 as the high. So I told you last week that the expectation was for that to happen, and it has done so this week. So it broke through the high, and it still looks like we've got more upside to come in Bitcoin. We could see some pullback now. People probably taking a little bit of profit off and so forth, but we will eventually continue to the upside for the next while. So for this week, perhaps again, like I say, a little bit of consolidation, but we'll continue up with the upside push going forward. All right, taking a look at crude oil on the weekly as well. Crude oil has also been in quite a tear, and you can see that we've reached a very critical resistance, previous support area as well. And we could see a little bit of consolidation, but eventually continue to the next high level is the expectation. So for this week, perhaps a little bit of consolidation, like I say, but we're going to be challenging those highs again before too long. Okay, so crude oil, US dollar. Oh, I missed one. Canadian dollar on the weekly, also very strong. I'm going to go to the monthly on this one just to get a good idea of where we are. So you can see we're right up in very close to previous resistance. There's still a bit of room for this to go. So we'll see on the weekly here if that's going to be the challenge. It looks like it wants to push a little higher. So yeah, that might be just the case for this week. We get a little, we're right at resistance right now. So we see a bit of consolidation in here before it continues higher going forward. Okay, so Canadian dollar also in consolidation mode perhaps this week. The US dollar, let's go to the weekly on that one. Okay, so US dollar has had quite the move to the downside. You can see we draw a line. It's trying now to push out and up, but I don't think it's going to get much higher than where we are. I would foresee further downside, but let's go a little closer and take a look on the daily. It's had quite the move, and it is definitely possible we'll have one more push back up into this area, a little higher, I guess, and before we turn around and come back down one more time. Okay, so I'm kind of seeing that we could again hit this area. So not much higher than where we are. So a push to the upside for the remainder of the week for the US dollar is definitely possible. We could see at first another move back down. We could see that happen first, and then that push going up. So be watchful of that. That can certainly happen first. Let's go to the euro on the weekly. So the euro is going to be doing the opposite of what the US dollar is doing. So if the US dollar um, does indeed climb, then this will fall. And if the US dollar falls, then this one will go up. Okay, so right now on the weekly, we're sitting at, again, a very interesting point where we have come back down. Looks like we should push back up again, but it's all going to depend on what the US dollar does. So what if the US dollar goes again up, this will fall and vice versa. So right now, it looks like we're going to fall. So we might get a little push up first, back up into this area, and then we'll fall. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So it's the opposite of what the US dollar is doing. All right, the Swiss on the weekly is also very much in a free fall right now. And we've come back down to another support resistance area kind of. And we could see some consolidation in here before we drop one more time. So on the daily, we are indeed, like I say, falling quite dramatically here. And we could see some gyrations in here before it continues its move to the downside. So that's the Swiss. Take a look at gold on the weekly. Gold again is still inside this channel that has been stuck in for quite a while. It's kind of come down to hit the bottom of the previous support area, and maybe now we'll finally get a chance to turn around and go back up. So that's on the weekly. Let's take a look at on the daily. So it looks again like it's trying very hard to turn around here to go back up, and that's totally possible, but it's going to be in a struggle for the first while. So a bit of a struggle for gold going into this week. Japanese yen on the weekly, free fall all the way down. We're getting up very close to first support and then another couple of more support areas. So there's room for this to fall further. And I would see that continuing. I don't see any abating of that. So downside for the Japanese yen. The New Zealand dollar on the weekly has also hit a peak. So this would be similar to the Aussie. So we have a head, we have a shoulder. I could see another shoulder forming over here before we get this move back down. So watch out for that. It's similar to here, just a smaller version of what's setting up over here. Okay. And go to the daily on that. We'll see that a little better. So we're getting something like this. So we could see this going sideways, of course, and then the drop, something similar like that to that. But of course, that's going to take a while to play out. So in the short term, we could see some further push back to the upside to challenge these previous highs. That might occur. I don't see it breaking the lows just yet. I don't see this zooming through at this point. It could, of course, but I think it would get a little push up first before it does. Okay, let's take a look at Mexican peso. The Mexican peso has had quite a run, but now it's kind of losing steam. It's falling much against the United States dollar, and it's still going to continue falling for this week. You can see that we've hit a very serious level here, and it's now turning back and heading down. So it's just retracing this move, so we could come all the way back down halfway or even lower and continue down. Okay, taking a look at the British pound. Okay, on the weekly, British pound has reached a peak and is now ready for a drop. Okay, so on the daily, it's starting to drop. We don't have a head and shoulders. It's sort of a sideways head and shoulders, but not really that clear. But we're looking to come and break these lows this week. Okay, so downer for the British pound. Okay, take a look at silver on the weekly. Silver is also in a funk and falling to the downside right now. Daily, we're heading to the downside, so I'm not seeing any upside for silver this week. So further moves to the downside for silver, at least in the short term. Okay. US 2000, this is a Russell 2000, has hit new highs again. And as last week I pointed out, that would be the expectation. We would come up and break those previous highs, and we've done so, looking very strong for those small cap companies on the daily, still pushing to the upside. So not seeing any turnaround for this at this point. It's still going to go higher. So opportunities to jump in to continue the move to the upside. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones, same type of thing. Again, last week said that it would break the highs and continue up, and it has done so dramatically again. And so I would be expecting a further continuance of this move. It could go a little bit sideways, but it's again lots of strength there still to the upside. US 500, the S&P, same type of thing, broke the highs, still going to the upside. So on the daily, we're pushing to the upside with strength. And again, we could see a little bit of consolidation, but nothing too dramatic. I still think we're going to continue going up. On the US technology side, go US tech. It's on the weekly as well. We hit, you can see on the technology side, we hit a peak, and we have turned back. So there's a little small head and shoulders there. And now the neckline would be here. We've broken that. So it looks like we're going to challenge it again for this level to come back down. So a little bit of weakness in the US technology sector, interestingly. So that's what it's shaping up. It looks like we're going to come back down one more time to this level. Actually, we could even push one more time this way first before we fall. But in either case, it's sort of setting up a quasi looking head and shoulders here. And we've breached the neckline here, but we could come back down to challenge that in times to come, which will be another week or so. But maybe a little bit of a move to the upside just in short term for this week before we start heading back down again. All right, so that's a look at what's setting up for the futures for this week. Profitable trading to everyone. Be safe. We're done now. Thank you.